Happy 30th Toy Story! Here I have the first film on Blu-ray as well as its 3 sequels. I wonder what my Blu-rays do when I'm not around or even when I'm sleeping. Do they act like the toys in these movies? Uh, you know what? I don't want to know. What is up, everybody? Random Random Man here, bringing you, I guess you could say, a review of sorts, even though it's not a proper review. This is more of like a reflection or just retrospective, I guess, for the movie that clearly, with you seeing the title, I am talking about having just turned 30 or is about to turn 30, and it is Toy Story in one take. Now, recently, yesterday technically, September 12th, Disney and Pixar decided to re-release Toy Story in theaters in honor of its 30th anniversary. Now, it's not its 30th anniversary now. That's coming in a couple of months in November. But yeah, this year, 2025, does mark the 30th anniversary of Toy Story. And I decided, going out and seeing this thing would not be a bad idea because, well, as was basically teased right before I saw this film, when I went to the screening after all the previews were over, there was a little bit of a tease or a little bit of a montage going over the past 4 Toy Story films before we are on the advent of Toy Story 5 coming next year in June. We didn't get any exclusive clips or footage though, no trailers, none of that, no. So, as I said, I didn't think it was a bad idea to go ahead and see this thing in a theater as I'm due for a rewatch for Toy Story. I plan to go through all the movies before Toy Story 5 comes out, and I had never seen this thing in a theater. I haven't seen too many older movies in theaters. This is the second one that I have seen. The first one, pre-current release movie, you could say, or retro film that I've seen in the theater was 2.5 years ago, Raiders of the Lost Ark, which I talked a bit about in my previous video in reviewing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, as Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite film of all time. So seeing that in a theater, I could not pass up. That was before the release of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And again, here's similar circumstances with Toy Story. And, seeing this in a theater, I thought would be interesting either way, and it's the way movies were all meant to be seen. Plus, with these 2 movies, Raiders and Toy Story, these 2 movies came out before I was even a zygote. I was born in 1997. I am 28 years old, so seeing movies that have been released in theaters before my literal lifetime was something that I don't get to do often, and usually they don't come to my local chain or any theater near me. Another recent film that got an anniversary re-release theatrically was Jaws for its 50th. I missed out on that one though, but anyway, Toy Story, the reason you clicked on this video. Toy Story turns 30, and of course I have seen this movie a million times, so many times. The first time I saw this movie was on VHS. I believe I borrowed a VHS tape of this film from 3 of my older cousins, and what can I say about this movie that hasn't been said? In case you don't know what Toy Story is about, I mean, it's about a world where toys, when humans or their owners are not looking, are alive, and it is the central focus on a particular toy, an old-fashioned cowboy, Woody, who basically is like the leader of his group of toys in a room where their owner or human Andy lives, and jealousy arises when, on Andy's birthday, he gets a Space Ranger toy named Buzz Lightyear. And there's a bit of a rivalry going on with both of them, and then they end up going on an adventure inadvertently. And so, yeah, again, with Toy Story, not just because of its anniversary is there any means to celebrate, but also with me personally having seen this thing projected 40 feet high or whatever, this was an opportunity for me to see that this is such an important / landmark film be seen in theaters. When this movie was released, this is the first fully computer animated feature film ever. So that is something that was groundbreaking. And also, it being an original idea, this being the first film from Pixar, of course, Pixar would become a part of the overall bigger Disney machine, and of course, it would end up becoming a big IP for them, a big franchise. Again, it spawned 3 proper sequels. Lightyear is a related film that's an offshoot of sorts, a bunch of shorts, and a bunch of different multimedia with Toy Story. But looking at Toy Story as a whole, just seeing it as if I was viewing it back in 1995 for the first time, this film still holds up immensely. I mean, this is a film, even seeing how it is in terms of it being an early CG animated film, it holds up so well in many ways. The way the toys are rendered, the animation, everything else with the colors, and I think this is probably the most recent remastering or just like sprucing up visually for this movie in 4K to be projected in a theater, because it looked so crisp. I mean, wow, this is the best I've ever seen the film. Again, of course, I own them, the first Toy Story film and the rest of the series on Blu-ray, and I'm gonna go through the rest of them before Toy Story 5. But even today, even if I saw this film for the first time today in a theater without having seen it previously, I would just be stunned and amazed because of the level of detail, just how unique everything is pulled off. Some things visually aren't necessarily the best. I mean, the humans kind of look samey, a few of them, a lot of the boy characters, and then even the dog, the villain, Sid's dog, you know, doesn't necessarily look the best, but it's still showing how this was a blueprint for basically a whole medium to come right after in being CG animated. And of course, we got to talk about the narrative with the story itself being original. The film itself was nominated for 3 Oscars. Best Original Screenplay, the first animated feature film to ever get nominated in the category, and then 2 more nominations for its music, Best Original Score and Best Original Song for You Got a Friend in Me, all by Randy Newman. Iconic, a theme song to the entire series. It's great. What can I say? There's really lack of a better word to say it, because everything here is so iconic. And the film itself would win a special achievement Oscar because of its groundbreaking contribution to cinema in being the first fully animated CG feature film, and of course, again, that's cause for celebration. And then you look at the film itself, you look at other details in terms of how it was helmed, the directing by John Lasseter, and the writing contributions from many people like Pete Docter and Andrew Stanton, who would also become staples at Pixar, including within the series of Toy Story itself, and then the characters and their vocal performances. Tom Hanks as Woody, Tim Allen as Buzz Lightyear, the late, great Don Rickles as Mr. Potato Head, the late, great Jim Varney as Slinky, Wallace Shawn as Rex, Annie Potts as Bo. You could go on. They're all great, in particular the 2 leads with Tom Hanks and Tim Allen riffing on each other and ending up being allies or friends, frenemies at first, adversaries, but then they are really good friends. Like the most, one of the most, I should say, definitely maybe the most iconic duo in any animated film, at least in modern history, but just they're one of the most iconic duos in cinematic history, seeing all that they go through and their arcs together across the series so far. The story itself being very simple but engaging and something for everyone to really come up and enjoy. And then, you know, everything else coming in between, the way it is paced, the way it comes all together. Because I haven't seen this since before the release of the 3rd film back in 2010. I mean, that film itself this year just turned 15 years old, which time is violent to say the least. So like, it's been years, like more than a decade for sure, since I've seen Toy Story in full, and running all together at about 81 minutes, including the end credits. I forgot how short of a film this is, but you know, it really all works together, kept me engaged. Now as an adult, viewing this film through this perspective, I did notice some little hints or jokes or nods here and there to some more adult humor, like with Mr. Potato Head taking his mouth out and putting it towards his backside. I'm like, okay, definitely did not notice that as a kid, and other things like that. This movie's rated G, so this is technically the latest film that I have seen in theaters that is rated G, and I can't remember the last time I saw a movie in theaters that was rated G. Maybe the Peanuts movie from 10 years ago. Jesus, yeah, see, like, all these movies are turning a certain amount in age or whatever years old. Oh my god. But in any sense, yeah. But I'm rambling at this point. But with Toy Story, yeah, this film really is one of the most important movies ever made, one of the most important animated movies, and by extension, one of the best animated films, and one of the best movies of all time altogether. There's really not much more I could say aside from giving my own personal anecdotes in terms of the series. I just mentioned, I saw Toy Story 3 in theaters back in 2010. I saw and reviewed Toy Story 4 back when it came out in theaters in 2019. Lightyear, I saw upon its initial release a few years later after that too. So now I have seen every Toy Story and Toy Story related film in theaters minus Toy Story 2. So that's the one thing I'm missing for that. But again, I'm going to go through all 4 Toy Story movies before seeing Toy Story 5, which, to talk a bit about that, we are now on I guess, like, we're on the 4th sequel for Toy Story. Yeah, Toy Story 5, but is this going to be the conclusion to the series? Toy Story 3 was initially that, but no. Then we got Toy Story 4. I see that more as like an extended epilogue, and also addressing stuff that we didn't get to see. Like, Bo was completely excluded in Toy Story 3 aside from a brief mention. So then we got more of Bo in the 4th film. So I thought that was more than enough to suffice there. But then now with Toy Story 5 and what we know at this point, they're going to fight iPad kids, or like they're going to go up against modern technology and stuff. So there could be an interesting angle there. And I just recently, like, in the last day or so, or earlier this week, it was announced that there are plans to do more Toy Story films beyond Toy Story 5 as well. And I'm like, Pixar is, of course, pretty famous for doing so many original films. They had a legendary run from 1995 to at least 2010, with the first Toy Story film to the 3rd Toy Story film, all the other films in between. Finding Nemo was the first movie I ever remember seeing in the theater. I was 5 years old and in kindergarten back in 2003 seeing that. So, Pixar means a lot to me and many people in my generation because of seeing these films at such young ages and whatever else comes together, and just how iconic, I use that word a lot here, but iconic, and just so much of a staple in just ringing in our society altogether and such. So seeing more sequels to their iconic films, does set me aback or push me back to where I'm like, I want to see more original ideas. But even as of late, sadly, Pixar hasn't seen much success with giving us more original ideas. Just earlier this summer, we had Elio, which I saw and reviewed, and I saw and reviewed Elio. Oh my god, this is what I get for doing this outside in one take. But anyway, Elio I did enjoy, and in my review, I didn't address like how the movie apparently was initially changed to. It was initially changed before release, like with trailers showing something else before seeing what we got in the final product. But besides all that, that movie ended up being like, the lowest opening weekend for Pixar since the original Toy Story film back in 1995. And, I thought it was a cute little movie. And then even stuff before that, they were hampered a lot by the pandemic, with a few of their films going straight to Disney Plus thereafter. They got brief theatrical releases too when theaters were more open and less COVID-y out. But in any sense, I still want to see Pixar championing or doing more original films, because again, we have now seen 3 whole decades in between the first Toy Story film and now, and the medium has changed so much. The landscape of film has changed so much, And seeing Toy Story on the big screen gave me a big reminder of that, on top of reinforcing how this is a true classic, a true masterpiece. If you couldn't already tell, like if I were to rate this thing, yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. Instantly, I would rate that for the first 3 films in particular, as I think you look at that group of films just in a vacuum on their own. It's a perfect trilogy. These are perfect films, I feel. And, you know, we'll see what happens with Toy Story 5, but you look at Toy Story on its own, you know, just as a movie, you know, this film really is important. It really is one of those films that changed the business, changed the art form, changed just about everything when it comes to what we see in entertainment for audiences young and old. And, you know, that's one thing I really want to talk about here while also walking around my backyard. Clearly, I'm finishing my steps for the day. Before I hit record, I had 7,000 steps. You got to do 10,000 steps a day. So I'm going to definitely complete that by the end of the day. But in any sense, yeah, Toy Story, you know, happy 30th anniversary, happy 30th birthday to Toy Story. You are definitely a fixture and staple of my childhood. I for sure had a Buzz Lightyear toy. I definitely had a Mr. Potato Head toy back when I was in kindergarten. So, like, you know, this franchise means a lot to me. These films mean a lot to me and so many other people that, you know, I just want to carry that on and, you know, do so while talking in this video. And I've been talking a little too long anyway with it because, yeah, what else is there to say to Toy Story? If you haven't seen this film by now, I mean, what are you doing? I think everyone watching this video has at least seen this film once, whether or not you were there when it originally came out or way after. Yeah, so I mean, I guess this is cause to go ahead and watch the film again, whether you want to for fun or even before Toy Story 5 comes out. And in any sense, Toy Story is a film that will live on forever and will forever be an important part as to the medium of animation and just film as a whole. So there you have it. My scrambled, really mixed up, but overall overwhelmingly positive thoughts on Toy Story with its 30th anniversary. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you think of Toy Story, social media links in the description, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.